Alright guys, some surprise breaking news. Lance Stroll has been withdrawn from the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, and the reason why essentially dates back to his wrist injury that sustained back in 2023. You'll remember that there was a lot of doubts about him trying to start the Bahrain Grand Prix, the opening round of the season 2 seasons ago, because he had a cycling accident. And he had to undergo surgery to fix this. And he only just got fit enough to race in time for the Bahrain Grand Prix. There was a lot of doubts about that. And there were, a lot of people thinking at the time that, Felipe Drugovich, their reserve driver at Aston Martin, was going to take his place for that Grand Prix. That didn't happen, but he did have to race in some sort of cast thing or something on his wrist. Honestly, he did an incredible job. We talk a lot of stuff about Stroll and his lack of performance and stuff, but genuinely to compete, and I think he did a pretty good job actually at the start of that season while being injured, was pretty impressive. But it turns out he wasn't fully recovered from it, because he's been complaining of pain, he's been complaining of troubles trying to shift gears presumably and steer the car, and he's withdrawn to undergo more surgery. Now of course we have a 2-week gap between Spain and Stroll's home race in Canada next up after this. So he's not going to compete in the Spanish Grand Prix tomorrow on Sunday. If you're seeing this on Sunday, I did record this very late on Saturday night because this news has just come to us here on Formula Reports. But Aston Martin have not confirmed when Lance Stroll will return. It is conceivably possible that Felipe Drugovich, their current reserve driver, could take his place for some of the upcoming rounds. For those wondering, he will not be competing this weekend, will Drugovich, just because he has not competed during any session. He's not been in free practice, he's not been in qualifying, so therefore he has not got any experience of driving this car around the circuit of Barcelona, Catalonia, at least not this weekend, unless he's done some sort of private test there at some point. And moreover as well, from a racing point of view, he's not qualified for the race, so he's effectively outside of the 107% rule because he doesn't have any lap time and the stewards don't have any data to go on, so it would be a bit unfair for him to even start the race from the pit lane or the back of the grid for that matter. But it is possible that Drugovich could of course take his place for the upcoming round in Canada after this, but it just depends on how long his recovery is. And interestingly, there was a bit of an incident after qualifying. Basically, Stroll was reported to the stewards after qualifying, and he did not follow the post-qualifying weighing procedure. So for those that don't know, basically after any session, any competitive session, I should say, qualifying or a race or a sprint race or a sprint qualifying, the drivers are weighed along with the car, just to determine to make sure that the car and driver are above the minimum weight for the FIA. Stroll didn't do this though. He basically spent 5 minutes in the team garage after qualifying, and then he eventually went to the scales after that. You meant to go straight to it, but basically I think presumably going off of this, it does sound as though Lance Stroll basically went to his team and said, look, I'm in too much pain here, I cannot do a Grand Prix distance on Sunday. I imagine that's what he probably said, maybe not quite that politely if he was in a lot of pain. But Stoffel van Dorn is another driver, of course. He could be deputised for Stroll this weekend. Again though, with Drugovich, it's the same reason basically. He's not competed in any session this weekend so far, so we will have a 19-car race on Sunday, and we could well get Van Dorn or Felipe Drugovich. I mean, Drugovich is on site in Spain, and he is the out-and-out reserve driver for Aston Martin, so we'll see what happens, guys. But what do you think about this? Let us know in the comments below as always, and would you like to see Drugovich in the car for Canada? Personally, I would. I think Drugovich, as a Formula 2 champion from a few years ago, he has earned a shot in Formula 1, but at the same time, I wish Lance Stroll all the best in his recovery, and I hope he's back in the car as soon as possible. But purely from a racing point of view, it would be nice to see somebody else in the car, just to see how he compares to Fernando Alonso. But like, share, comment, subscribe to see much more like this, guys, and have a fantastic day wherever in the world today. And we'll see you soon for plenty more content from this Spanish Grand Prix weekend.